arrive at our community meeting. So if you feel comfortable doing so, please close your eyes, or you can have them open and just look downward. And we're going to just do some quick breathing to get centered. So bring attention to how you're sitting and find a way to be relaxed and alert. Your feet on the floor. Then bring attention to your breath. And take a deeper breath. We're going to take 3 breaths. Let it all out and shake it all out from your Mondays at work. So let go of what happened today at Monday at work or at home and come present into this meeting space. And just wanted to express my gratitude for everybody who's in the audience, for those who are watching on TV or online, for being part of our conversation today and learning about what your local government officials are up to, as well as your city staff. We are all here to support the community, and love that you are availing yourself to better our city. So let's be curious, thoughtful, and compassionate and open as we discuss city business. All right, and with that, I invite you to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America.
Republic
For which it stands, one nation, under God,
liberty and justice for all. All right. And can we have roll call, please?
Mayor Pro Tem James.
Present.
Councilmember Leaks May.
Here.
Councilmember Mikulski.
Here.
Mayor Piana.
Here.
And Councilmember Polika is absent.
And I move to, what's the word?
Excuse.
I'm looking
I
for?
haven't.
Thank you.
Excuse
I'm
the
going
absence.
to excuse the absence of Councilman Polika due to illness.
Or support. All right, next up is approval of the agenda.
Mayor, I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Moved by Leaks James and seconded by Mayor Leaks. Oh my God, I do that every meeting. Moved by Leaks May and seconded by James, Mayor Pro Tem James. Thanks.
Leaks May.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. I just like to combine 2 great minds together. It's like peanut butter and chocolate. All right, next up is presentation is 4A. It's the Police Department 2021 Annual Report Presentation and Crime Report Update. And welcome to the dais, or the podium, Chief Emmy.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Dennis Emmy. I'm the Chief of Police for the City of Ferndale. And I'm proud to present a wonderful piece of work that I thought our Sergeant Zarowski and the Communications Department put together. It's our 2021 annual report. So I'm going to actually pull it up from our transparency dashboard. Just a little reminder to everybody out there that all of our statistics are compiled monthly and saved to the transparency dashboard, which you can find through our department page on the city website. From there, you can click on existing annual reports, and we're going to start with the 2021 annual report. To go through this document page by page, word by word, would bore everybody to tears. So we're going to move through it briskly and touch on what I feel are the highlights of a very busy year. So our mission statement is partnering with our diverse community to provide public safety with integrity, professionalism, and honor. Our vision statement is we're always working to improve our community while recognizing the dedication and service of our employees. Our core values are integrity, compassion, service, commitment, and courage. 2021 marked near a historic change in turnover in our staff. Obviously, I was humbled to be appointed to Chief of Police at the end of 2020, but my official start date was January 1st of 2021. So I'm a little over a year and a half in, and it's been a terrific time. We also promoted Captain David Spellman on January 1st, as well as Lieutenant Dan Cousdale on January 1st. We had a couple of retirements that included Officer Jeff Pierce and Detective Brendan Moore. But what's really noteworthy, in one calendar year, we hired 12 personnel from our patrol and dispatch. This represents a turnover in 62.5% of our dispatch staff and a turnover of 16.6% of our officers or our sworn staff. So it's an incredible amount of turnover for HR and our admin team to process and hire and then move forward. Once they become members of the department, we have to train them, bring them up to speed on our policies, procedures, and teach them how to do it the Ferndale way. This doesn't happen without ongoing recruitment. We do a 24/7, 365 open recruitment. We have seen success in this where other departments tend to open and close recruiting windows. We find that we do pick up quality candidates by keeping it open and keeping an active, I guess, our fingers on the pulse of our candidate list. And we actively reach out, engage the people on our list, and court them because it's that competitive out there. I'm sure that everybody sees that in not only in the public safety ranks, but in the private sector as well. If you're not monitoring your candidates and courting them, they will find other employment. So we are measuring up well. When I talk to my colleagues across Oakland County and across Southeast Michigan, many are operating several positions short, where we are at full staff or actually preemptively hiring prior to those openings coming open. So that is a credit to the HR mission, and my admin staff is just doing a fantastic job of filling these gaps. That does set us aside from many of the organizations around here. One thing we have done to enhance our recruitment, we're constantly trying to reach out to minorities through different websites and different publications. We are actively seeking lateral transfers. This infusion of lateral transfers and experience helps us bridge the gap from hiring 21, 22-year-old police officers who have never worked in law enforcement before, by getting an influx of experience through, anecdotally, from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. We've had tremendous success bringing in candidates from the Wayne County Sheriff's Department, also from the Detroit Police Department. We are also hoping that this targeting these lateral transfers will hopefully bring us some diversity in our workforce through some of these other agencies. Patrol Division is operated under the command of Captain David Spellman. Like I said, he's a 25-year officer. He's been in the captain role since January 1st of last year, and he's doing a fantastic job of community engagement and moving forward on our initiatives. Our Patrol Division operates on 12-hour shifts, a day shift, A side and B side, and a night shift, A side and B side. And they're under the command of, last year it was under the command of Lieutenant Patak and Lieutenant Andre on the day shift, and the night shifts were Lieutenant Collette and Cousdale. Last year the Detective Bureau was staffed and commanded by Detective Lieutenant Casey O'Loughlin. As of January 1st of this year, though, we made a development change only because we're looking to increase the development opportunities across our command staff. We moved Lieutenant Patak into the Detective Bureau, and it had nothing to do with Detective or Lieutenant O'Loughlin's performance. It was about creating development across the entire workforce. So we had many significant cases in 2021 that I'm not going to go into the details, but there was an unusual uptick in violent crime across the country. So we're not immune to the violent crime that's happening across the country. We had attempted sexual assault at 7-Eleven with an arrest made, a home invasion with stolen firearms with an arrest made, armed robberies in our residential neighborhood with an arrest made, and of our 7-Eleven with an arrest made. Our units and teams, there's lots of opportunities in our department. Janessa Danielson runs our professional standards unit. She does a fantastic job. She's in charge of accreditation management, which is it's a lot to ask. She also helps with the special event programs. Really does a fantastic job. I think nobody here is a stranger to the job that CEO Mel Meister does. She's got her fingers in just about every community group in our city, and she's really doing a fantastic job. Records is run by Tamika Brooks. Tamika has, I think, 35 years of experience with the city of Ferndale, and I'm hoping I can keep her for another 5 years. She really does a fantastic job. She coordinates FOIAs along with the city clerk's office and manages all of our data. We have several multi-jurisdictional units that include the Oakland County Narcotics, which is a local narcotics team that focuses their attention on community drug enforcement. We also are members of a task force at the DEA that is headquartered out of the Detroit office. We have 2 officers that are assigned to the Oakland County SWAT team, which is one of the more advanced SWAT teams in the country, so that it really is something that we're able to participate in a program like that. We're also part of a part-time mobile field force unit that's staffed by officers all over the county for civil unrest. Some of our other units include the Oakland County FBI Gang and Violent Crimes Task Force. This unit was instrumental in the recovery of a local kidnapped youth last year. Without their assistance and our participation in that unit, it would have been a much more difficult operation. Our auxiliary unit is staffed by volunteers, and they work a lot of our special events and traffic details, and sometimes they come in at a moment's notice to help with storms. Like everybody else in the city and around the world, we made a lot of precautions to tailor our response to the needs of created by COVID-19. So there's a little piece in here on our response to COVID-19 for our personnel and our response, trying to provide services as seamlessly as possible over the course of the pandemic. Special events, there's a little picture of our emergency vehicle show every Dream Cruise. We're presenting the local championship trophy. Street Corner Roundtable is one of our bigger community engagement events. I know that we have one scheduled for this Wednesday. Hopefully we can see some of you out there and some of the residents, so we can talk about issues going on in their neighborhood, and it doesn't have to be totally restricted to police service. If there's any kind of issue across the city, that we at the police department think that our Peace app is kind of the switchboard for the city, and we can make sure that we farm any complaints or requests for service to the appropriate department. Fair and impartial policing and use of force is obviously a sensitive topic across law enforcement in this country. We do monitor use of force, every single use of force, and we'll get to some numbers briefly or shortly. But fair and impartial policing is a way of auditing the behavior of our officers and our staff by randomly checking body-worn camera footage, or while we're looking at evidence captured on any in-car or body-worn camera footage, we're always looking at this not only from a criminal prosecution perspective, but we're also looking at it through an appropriateness perspective or policy violation. And we always, we have the policy of not passing up any mistakes or opportunities to train or counsel our staff. We were the first to have body-worn cameras back in 2017 in Oakland County. We're proud of that. That's because we got in so early on that technology. We're also due right now for an upgrade. Citizens Police Academy is another one of our big community engagement tools. It's fantastic to meet people around the community. Typically about 20 citizens a year are chosen to participate in a four-week program where they get to learn how their local police department operates and try to eliminate some of the mystery behind law enforcement, behind the badge. We're very lucky to have in this last group, the Oakland County prosecutor, Karen McDonald, was very generous with her time and came down and spoke to the group personally. So that is a first. So our response to resistance policy, which is commonly referred to as use of force, in 2021, we had 18,177 calls for service. Officers made 449 arrests throughout that year. Of these total calls for service, there were 25 documented incidents of use of force. And this is a breakdown of those numbers. And again, we don't want to get in the weeds too much with the numbers, but if you ever want to take a deeper dive into these statistics, they are all on the transparency dashboard. And I'm happy to field any questions if you look into those numbers. And obviously, anybody in the public, feel free to contact me through the website, and I'm happy to return your email. The ARC system and the transparency dashboard. ARCS is the vendor, which is now bought out by Tyler Technologies, but they are the vendor that built the transparency dashboard, which went live in 2021. And as national standards go, it is at the top of the industry for number of data sets, where some would only get into, like some in Oakland County only released 3 categories, where we expanded it much further than that. And we'll get into that shortly. We in the city of Ferndale and the Ferndale Police Department have embraced President Obama's executive order and the 21st century policing model. The 6 pillars are building trust and legitimacy, policy and oversight, technology and social media, community policing and crime reduction, training and education, and officer wellness and safety. I can proudly say that we have touched on every single one of those pillars, and we're trying, obviously there really is no destination along this trail. It's always a journey. Perfection is something that probably will never be achieved, but that's the goal. But we're going to continue to work towards that. There's been a push in law enforcement across the country to blend law enforcement and community health and human services. The mental health crisis in our country has been in the news a lot over the last few years. And we're trying to bridge that gap in services through partnerships like the one with Common Ground. and Hope Not Handcuffs. Very proud of Hope Not Handcuffs. This is a new program, which is kind of the follow-up. Actually, Hope Not Handcuffs was the original. There's a follow-up to Hope Not Handcuffs, which is called the Comeback Program. In the Comeback Program, our quick response team that's made up of mental health professionals, people who suffered from substance abuse that are now in recovery. They act as coaches. They go throughout our community based on input through police reports and possibly arrests or ambulance calls, that type of thing. And they go knock on doors after they've had incidents where they've been sent to the hospital on a medical related to an overdose. So in that time, we've had 25 victims of overdoses that have accepted peer coaching services, and 9 have accepted family coaching services. So I would think that I would consider that a success. We're trying, like I said, we're trying to bridge the gap and plug the holes as we see fit. So that covers the 2021 annual report. I really do think the communications team did a beautiful job with this. We're going to go back to cover some brief statistics from the dashboard. And just like a little orientation, it might be a little review for some. So in 2022, we'll go 2021 first. In 2021, we fielded over almost 20,000 calls for service, 19,917. And give you a year to date for 2022, we're currently sitting at 11,400. So we're probably on pace for a similar number of calls for service. From a citation standpoint, when you think citations, think tickets. In 2021, we issued 2,174 traffic violations. In 2022, we're at 3,000 currently. And to get a better view of this is through the 4-year comparison. Kind of gives you a better idea, like, you know, just giving the numbers 1 year at a time doesn't really paint a picture of contrast or perspective, but when you compare the 4-year total, it kind of gives you an idea where we're at. Obviously, during the pandemic years, numbers were down significantly. We're going to jump ahead to arrests. So arrests in 2021, our officers arrested 487. Today, to date, we are at 388. And to provide a 4-year perspective, gives you an idea where we're at now. This is 2022 here in the middle. So, moving ahead, like response to resistance or use of force. I know this is important to everybody. It's important to us. We want to be as transparent as possible. And in 2021, like I said, out of 18,000 calls for service, we only had 25 uses of force. Compared to today, in 2022, we were only at 10 for the entire year of 2022. So it kind of provides some perspective of how seriously we take it and how our officers really use a lot of restraint on a daily basis and make good decisions. Training is a priority with our department, and we decided that training hours should be open for everybody to see, to show our commitment to that. Since we began the dashboard, we've trained our staff with over 3,000 hours of training. In 2022, we have over 1,800 hours of training for our staff across many categories. And as we scroll down, it gives you an idea of where we put that training. In 2022, it's in emergency vehicle operations, mental health response, leadership training, cultural awareness and ethics, dispatch training, legal training, and then bloodborne pathogens, investigative training, and response to resistance or use of force training. There's always the crime map available on our dashboard to give you current idea of what's going on in your neighborhoods by clicking on the crime map, and you can zoom in and out and find your neighborhood and see what's going on in your neighborhood. This is always available. And the filtering mechanism can also filter out certain types of crimes, so you can cut to the chase. Traffic crashes. This map gives you an idea of where the traffic crashes are happening, and it breaks it, and you can filter out by dates and instances, and shows you who's involved in our crashes. Citizen complaints. I'm very proud of our staff. We definitely take complaints through all mechanisms, whether it's anonymous, whether it's by phone, by internet, by email, by voice. In all of 2021, we had 7 complaints against staff members at the police department, all of which are investigated, and the complainants are given written dispositions based on their complaint, whether it's founded, unfounded, as such. And there's a little breakdown of how those statistics were investigated and a breakdown of their dispositions. This year to date, we only have 1 complaint against a staff member, but we take them all seriously. Crime trends can be a little complicated because we're still in the developmental stage of the crime comparison, but this is 2022 at a glance. Total crime in the city of Ferndale is down 32% from 2021. Crime change from 2020 is 7.7, and you see it changes over time, but since 2017 we're down just 3.3. So you can see the pandemic had a serious effect on inconsistencies in data and policing, and the statistics that were coming out of the pandemic were kind of an anomaly. And if you drill down a little bit further, it'll break down, like, obviously these are our top 10 categories by year. These are the percentage change in the last year. And basically, if there's anything above that shows an increase, and when you look at these, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. Burglaries, it says it's up 133%. That's typically not a crime that happens frequently. So if you only had a couple last year, you could have just a couple more, and all of a sudden it's 133%. But it would be a little too much to go through all these categories. I invite everybody to check this out on the dashboard. And again, if you have any questions, I'm free anytime. Anything that's below the line would be a decrease in crime. Obviously, like in this case, embezzlement's down 67%. But again, if there's not a lot of embezzlements reported, that can be exaggerated by the 100% or that you're seeing in the statistics. And we added mental health referrals because we thought it was important to show our commitment towards working with Common Ground in a mental health crisis. In total, since we started our program, we've had 62 referrals to Oakland County Mental Health, and Common Ground. These are followed up within 24 to 48 hours by a mental health professional. And we've received very good feedback from our partnership. We work with Common Ground regularly, trying to get on the same page. They're like us. They have a huge turnover in staff, so it really does put the onus on us to keep a fresh relationship and keep touching base, make sure we're on the same page. Here's a breakdown of some of the how we're coming in to contact with these referrals. 50% come from dispatches, some come from family, and then you break down that some are deferred. Like in this case, this was an arrest that we decided shouldn't have been an arrest or a criminal complaint, but rather a mental health issue, so they were referred to Common Ground. So, and then on the last page, again, we're proud to be an accredited agency by the Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police, and on this page, we publicly house many of our policies that we think the public would be interested in. If there's a policy here if there's a policy not reflected in this list and you have interest in it, feel free to contact me on the website. I promise you that I will send you that policy right away in the interest of transparency. And I will happy to explain it to you or walk you through it, whether you're a member of the council or the or resident. At any rate, this really does complete my presentation, and I'm free to answer any questions you have. I know it's a lot of statistics, and it can easily get away from you. So that's why, out of the interest of being humane, I spared you from some of it.
Well, I really appreciate the update and the walkthrough of the report. I thought it was well done as well. My first question is, I can't remember how often we submit accreditation compliance for, and so when's this annual report due? Because it's part of our compliance.
We have to publish one annually. There isn't a due date for each annual report, but it's certainly part of the accreditation standard, and we are set for our reaccreditation next October. So Sergeant Danielson is continually pulling proofs that we are following what our policies and doing what we say we're doing. She's currently into year 2 of our accreditation proof gathering, and next summer auditors from Michigan Association of Chiefs of Police will come down and do on-site reaccreditation and go through all of our files. So that we have that, we're looking forward to that next year.
Are there questions from council on what we just received? We've come a long way.
I appreciate that. I truly do. I really have to give a lot of credit to my staff, and the communications department has been with us lockstep. The HR department, I really can't say enough about the partnership with Dan and his team. They really are helping us keep a leg up on our competition. They really are. So thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we are going on to the next presentation, which is 4B, is the resolution to acknowledge the public service of Water Supervisor Dan Harper. And I believe Joe is going to introduce this.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I am proud to introduce and acknowledge the service award earned by our outgoing Water Supervisor Dan Harper. Pardon me. Unfortunately, Dan is not able to attend this evening, but I will present this to the DPW director to present to Dan, hopefully in front of his team, so we can get a public recognition of Dan's service. But I will read the resolution because it's important to acknowledge the service of Dan, who's retiring after 29 years with the city. So Dan was hired as a DPW laborer in 1993. Dan's technical acumen and initiative led to many growth opportunities in his first 5 years and culminated in his first leadership promotion in 2000. In 2008, Dan was promoted as the city's interim water system supervisor and has since served as our permanent water supervisor. As the supervisor, Dan has been responsible for overseeing 80 miles of water and sewer main, 2,500 catch basins, the pump station and infrastructure monitoring systems, and 10,000 watering service lines. The role of the water supervisor at the local government level is akin to our public health official. Dan's team is called in to respond to water main breaks, sewer issues, overseeing the replacement of community-led lines, a new initiative, and more. No matter what the call for service, Dan and his team reliably pick up the phone every time. His technical aptitude and service length has been fundamental to the vitality of the Ferndale community. Dan's service and leadership also includes other DPW operations like snow removal, parks projects, and of course, general department responsibilities. Most notably, he's outgoing installing our first splash pad. So thank you, Dan, for your water excellence there. He's been a great mentor and teacher for everyone in Dan's department, as Dan could speak on. Dan Harpo leaves the department better off and well-positioned as we move into the future. Therefore, be it resolved by Mayor Melanie Piana on behalf of Ferndale City Council to recognize Water System Supervisor Dan Harper's outstanding service to the community to Ferndale. Water System Supervisor Dan Harper is a credit to the community, the Ferndale DPW, and the city government. And with that, I present the award to Dan Antosik, the director. And Dan, if you could just say a few comments on behalf of the department.
Yeah, so I know Mr. Harper wasn't able to make it here tonight, but as Joe touched on in the resolution, Dan really has been a leader and a mentor within the Department of Public Works. Dan has a wealth of knowledge, and one of the things that we joke about, and Dan likes to remind me from time to time, is that he has probably forgotten more things than I have learned yet in my life. Which is probably true, because Dan never ceases to surprise with what he is able to learn over the years. It's been great, not only for myself, but for many of our team members in the department that, individuals like Dan, they got to learn the 99 ways how to do something wrong, and gets to teach you the 100th way on how to do it the right way. And how everything comes into play, the things to look for, and so on. So it truly has been a pleasure getting to work with Dan over the years. He really will be a missed member of the team. We all know that he is greatly looking forward to retirement and getting to spend more time with his grandchildren, getting a snowboard on down in Florida during the wintertime, and then coming back to Ferndale in the summer times, because he has been a longtime Ferndale resident as well. So we are happy for Dan to get to enjoy his retirement. We will be sad to see him go, but Dan has helped to set us up for long-term success within the department and some of our capital improvement projects that we've had going on over the years. So we all know he's at least a phone call away, and where to find him over in the city of Ferndale if we ever need him. So I know he does appreciate this. He couldn't be here tonight, but on behalf of Mr. Harper, thank you very much. He will appreciate this, and yeah, we will present this to Dan tomorrow during our morning meeting with all the crew. So thank you.
Thank you, Dan, and please tell Dan, express my gratitude as well. I think a lot of people don't think about their water. They just turn it on and glad it's there and they pay their bill, but the technical skills needed to manage a water system for a community is significant, and I'm always thankful that Dan has been with us for so long. And a lot of cities are struggling to find water professionals, going into this field, and Dan is a professional that has kept our city safe all these years. And I'm just appreciative of him to teaching me about the water system. You know, when you get on city council, you come in with your skills that you know, and some things you just, you know, never have a deep dive of, and water was one of them, and that's one of our primary, you know, voting and policy here is making sure we have good quality services, and water is at the forefront of it. So please, on behalf of council. Thanks, Dan. And yes, we do need a motion to accept this resolution honoring.
I move to approve the resolution honoring public service of Water System Supervisor Dan Harper as submitted by the city manager.
And do we need to have a vote on that, or are we all in favor? Can we just
We're
do
in
all,
favor.
we're all in favor, yes, all right.
Although I assume that we must have hired another Dan, one Dan in.
One Dan out, is that the hiring rule? No. All right. Dan, enjoy your retirement. Okay, we're gonna move on to the next presentation, which is 4C, which is the presentation recognizing the life of Lucille Lindsay. And I am going to read the resolution, and then we will have someone come up and say a couple remarks. On behalf of the Ferndale City Council, we extend the city's condolences to the family of Lucille Lindsay. Lucille is a longtime resident of Ferndale for 74 years. She was the beloved wife of former council member Oscar Lindsay, who passed away in 1988. Lucille was a member of the Ferndale Senior Citizens Group, a longtime member of the First United Methodist Church of Ferndale, and Lucille was known for assistance with Ferndale elections. Lucille is the mother of Donna, Barbara, and Janice. She had 7 grandchildren and was a great-grandmother. On behalf of the City Council, we're certifying this and have a resolution adopted by council today. So, with that, is there someone who would like to come and make some comments?
On behalf of our family, we'd like to thank the mayor and the council for this resolution for my mom. She loved Ferndale. She's been here a long time. I would personally like to thank the police and the paramedics who in the last few years have helped my mom. They were professional and very sweet to her every time they came. And also a little bit of a water department issue. She had a major leak about 3 or 4 years ago, and they caught it right away and came and helped her take care of that. So she did love Ferndale. And thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm very happy that we were able to honor Lucille tonight on behalf of your family. So with that, I believe we need also no action. So,
Made through the
Madam
chair.
Mayor,
would you like to?
I just had a comment, if I may.
Please, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment that seeing all the service that Ms. Lindsay contributed to Ferndale, it's no surprise to me that the lady that was standing up here, Barbara Stafford, has been a teacher with Ferndale Schools for many, many years and has actually taught my children, so I guess service runs in the family. So I personally extend my condolences to the loss of your mother that I just found out was your mother tonight. But please, my condolences go out to the family, and thank you for all the service that you've given to Ferndale and your family, because it sounds like it's a long line of it. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, this was supposed to be on the consent agenda, but it did not make it there, so a motion would be required.
I move to approve the resolution recognizing the life of
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. We are now moving on to call the audience. And we set aside 30 minutes for people to speak on any topic. And we ask you to speak for 30 minutes, and we have a nice clock here to help be mindful of the time. Just wanted to remind everybody that sometimes this is someone's first time coming to our council meeting and speaking for the first time and may feel a little nervous or uncomfortable, but they do deserve to be heard. So we have some discourse with dignity guidelines. Please refrain from any abusive language, threats, bullying, and personal attacks. We really want to get to the root of an issue, but it's really hard to do so if the content of what you're saying is buried within disruptful or harmful behavior. So for productive conversations, please address the issues and not people, and please address the mayor and city council rather than staff. With that, I'm going to open it up, and our first person.
Good evening, Council. Frank Flores here, formerly from Ferndale, living in Warren, but we're still neighbors. I just want to put a reminder, as I said earlier, that our longevity city manager, Jeff Saltis, as you know, he passed away in April. And they're going to have his memorial this coming Monday, the 15th. So I was able to talk to Suzanne, which she was a good friend of Lucille, Lindsay, and she was there, and she's the one that mentioned it. And I know him just for a long time, me living in the city here for almost 32 years, and he been with the city manager job for 17 years, and he did a well job in here. So I'm hoping the invitation is open for the memorial being held at the Lutheran Church of Redeemer out in Birmingham, and that's on West Maple Road. I believe it's 800 is the street, as an address. So, you know, it would be nice to have someone representing the city come out there and just be there for Suzanne to thank Jess for all the work he has done. A little input on Lucille. I've known her for a long time. The family here, I grew up, as you know, Janice is the one that didn't talk. She was an auxiliary member for the police department for about 4 years, and she was my partner when I was in. And Lucille did so many things for an older lady. You know, her age was 96 years old, and also Jess was 96 when he passed away, so they were good neighbors. One input when Jess passed away, and he just got elected as councilman for 3 years, for a 4-year term, and his illness stopped him from continuing on. And with the input of the family and myself being inputted with the city a lot, especially working with the veterans and Parks and Rec and everything else, I put my name in a ring to run for his seat. Well, I never got the chance. But anyway, it was an honor for me to do this for Oscar. Today I was looking for his name on the board, but everything has changed here. So again, the main input is that if you could maybe put a resolution too also for Jess and send it out with one of you that could make it to present it to Suzanne. So thank you much for being here. Everything has changed since I've been gone. Okay?
Thank you very much,
All right,
Frank.
thank you. Excuse me, the resolution that you have for her, do you have that right there that I
I
can?
do, but you have a copy of it?
I'll get you a copy, Frank.
Okay, well, I'll stop by City Hall because they asked. I'll tell them that I'll pick it up next week or so, during the week, okay? All right, thanks.
Thanks, Frank.
Good evening.
Is there anybody else in the audience? Hi, welcome.
My name's Silka, Silka Gudos of 1104 Leroy, and this is my partner.
Hi, my name's Tina Yee.
Hello.
And we wanted to just get right down to brass tacks and talk about some of the billboards that are seen around Ferndale. And we wanted to take some time today to express how we feel about it, put it into the record. So as you all know, the sign says, "A little weed never hurt anybody. Don't let anybody tell you any different." And we have a lot of issue with that because it's false advertising. And it's also damaging to the community as it addresses all the members of the community, especially our vulnerable populations. On this billboard, there is nothing stating risks, as there are risks with all drugs that we put into our bodies, from aspirin to ibuprofen to marijuana. There's no mention that this product is for people who are 21 years of age and older, and that it should be used responsibly. Because even with medical marijuana, you can be charged with operating while under the influence. This billboard markets to everybody, again, not just a specific audience, from people who were nervous about trying it, a little weed never hurt anybody, to people who have had a bad experience with it. Will anybody tell you different? Weed never hurt anybody. And also our children. Again, there's no age designation on the billboard. So again, the problem is false advertising. It misleads vulnerable populations who cannot make informed decisions, as well as people with mental health conditions that also have co-occurring substance use disorders. And as a qualified mental health professional myself, I can tell you that in the DSM, it lists cannabis use disorder as one of them. Overwhelming evidence shows that use of marijuana can exacerbate an episode of psychosis, and it can bring out someone's very first psychotic break. Further, this billboard does not speak to what I think are one of our community standards, as seen with the patio zones, where there's designated usage areas, etc. So that encourages partying responsibly. And we know that law enforcement does not advocate the use of drugs while operating a vehicle. That, of course, is not mentioned in this billboard. And so finally, I'd like to close with that, yeah, a little weed can certainly hurt anybody. As facts outpour every day on the news, there's weed that's laced with hallucinogens, with fentanyl that kills people, and cocaine, and the list goes on. We'd like to offer our assistance and support to the community and to City Council to advocate for accurate advertising. And we kindly thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I normally don't respond to people, and I'm just going to tell you that I've received complaints from residents too about these signs. You aren't the first one, but I appreciate you coming here and saying this. But there are free speech rights for the signage, and so I just want to put it out there that the city cannot force the sign owners not to put up that content. So I just wanted to let you know that we know it's a concern to our residents, but there's limitations on what City Council can do.
Yes.
But I appreciate you coming out here and saying your opinions on the signs.
And just one last thing, I did speak with somebody today in City Hall, and they were incredibly helpful. They took my name, my number, they said, hey, let me get you some information, and they shared that information with us. But we really just wanted to get it on the public record that we're not happy.
That's why we're here, and that's why we have public comment, so I appreciate it for coming out tonight.
I may, through the chair, Mayor, I believe that that particular billboard, I think it's been removed, if I'm not mistaken. It's no longer there, correct?
3 of them are still up.
3 of them still up? Okay, all right.
But I'm sure if someone wanted to complain to the sign company, that is also something that you could do as well. You could complain, submit a complaint to the sign company. So that is something our residents can do. All right, I'm moving on to see, is there anybody else in the audience that'd like to give public comment? Jenny? No? Nothing from the library? Okay. All right, seeing no one else, I'm going to close call to audience and move on to the consent agenda. And I will read it in its entirety, and council can move how they wish. So 6A, approval of the July 25th, 2022 meeting minutes. 6B, approval of contract with Lighthouse South Oakland Shelter for the Emergency Services Grant for the City of Ferndale. 6C, approval to purchase office furniture from Interior Environments for $10,339.75 to be paid from account 265977 for drug forfeiture. 6D, approval of the Department of Justice matching grant in the amount of $80,000 towards body-worn and in-camera equipment in-car camera equipment, and software upgrades. 6E, approval of fire hose purchase at a total cost of $6,000. 6F, approval of the WOW Uniform Video Services local franchise agreement renewal. 6G, approval of gas valve replacement for boiler at Kulik Community Center by Rolls Mechanical in the amount of $7,839. 6H, interlocal agreement with the City of Royal Oak regarding vehicle barricade rental. 6I, consideration of extension of Metro Act's rights away permit. 6J, approval of the declaration and notice regarding MDR funds for the Wanda Park Improvement Project and authorization for the mayor and city clerk to sign the document. 6K, approval of the MDNR Trust Fund Development Project Agreement for the Martin Road Park Walkways and Pavilion Project and authorization for the mayor to sign the agreement and accompanying resolution. 6L, approval of request to execute the pending Brownfield Grant Agreement between the Michigan Department of Environmental, Great Lakes and Energy, also known as EGLE, and the City of Ferndale in support of the Raymond E. Shepherd House project that will be developed by Full Circle. 6M, approval of the bills and payrolls as submitted by the City Manager's Office and subject to review by the Council Finance Committee. What is the pleasure of council?
Mayor, I move that we accept the consent agenda items as presented.
Second.
Moved by Leeks May and seconded by Mayor Pro Tem James. Clerk.
Leaks May.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Piana.
Yes. All right, we are moving on to the regular agenda, and we're moving on to 7A, consideration of purchasing replacement dump truck with equipment from Wolverine Freightliner Eastside Inc. in the estimated amount of $310,000.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So, with most years, it is another that time of year again for our scheduled fleet replacements. So this year, the one big ticket item that we have is the replacement of one of our dump trucks. That is one of the dump trucks that we use for salting and snow plowing. So this year, we did budget to replace a 2009 International dump truck that we have. The truck currently has 32,000 miles on it and approximately 4,000 hours. Our city's fleet management policy recommends that we replace our heavy equipment dump trucks every 10 years or 120,000 miles. Unfortunately, the size of Ferndale makes it very difficult for us to hit that 120,000 mile mark, but we are at the life cycle of that vehicle and to swap that out before we start really nickel and diming in terms of the long-term maintenance costs that pop up over time. So with the other trucks that we've ordered in the past, we have elected to go with another Freightliner with a stainless steel body upfit by Knapheide, both of which we have or are members of organizations, and these have been competitively bid out previously. The one difference that you really may see in this year's dump truck versus last year's dump truck that we ordered is the price. That is because there is a significant price difference in those trucks. The one thing that we did do going into budgeting over the past few years in fiscal year 23 is we did budget $400,000, and that was to anticipate the potential of this utility style dump truck potentially being offered in an electric style, but that hasn't came to the market yet. So the total price, the total speculative price of this truck is $296,000. And I say that because ordering hasn't opened and pricing has not fully been finalized by the manufacturer, Freightliner, as of yet. They were thinking, our salesperson was thinking that potentially ordering would open sometime in August, possibly September. So you will see the language a bit different in this action item as we are looking to get approved for the estimated amount of $310,000 for this vehicle, and that is because of the unknown factors in surcharges, material pricing increases that we've seen on the trucks over the last few years, and to try and put that into perspective a little bit, in, I believe it was August or September of 2021, the DPW brought forth this same truck, same equipment. There's only one thing that is different, which is a small dollar amount in compared to the overall price of the vehicle. But the price we're looking at this year is $296,000. Last year, when council approved us to order the same truck, the price on that truck was $260,000. And the year prior to that, it was $232,000. Largely driven by surcharges on the cab and chassis for the vehicle itself. A lot of that is driven by the increase in stainless steel costs, and then the surcharges that have been coming from the manufacturer of the equipment itself. So what we would like to do is we would like to seek approval to place an order for this dump truck, which our vendors are pretty confident that the $269,000 mark will not change. But if something were to change, an additional surcharge does get tacked on someplace, that we would be able to place an order for this truck if it does, not exceed the price of $310,000. And then in terms of financing, we did plan to finance this truck over a 5-year period. We got quotes from Comerica Bank, who we bank with a lot, as well as Credit Union One. Comerica Bank did provide us with a lower interest rate at 2.97% compared to the 3.25 from Credit Union One, so we would recommend with financing this truck with Comerica Bank as well. So we're hoping that if we were to order this truck now, we may see it sometime in late 2023, potentially early 2024. I know the tandem axle truck that we ordered in 2021, we likely won't see that until early 2023. So at this time, it's every bit of a year lead time. So that's why we're here. And then once we do receive delivery of the new truck, if council does approve, the old truck would be sold at public auction. And at that, I can take any questions from council.
Are there any questions from council? The last truck we purchased, I think that was a month and a half ago?
That was a backhoe.
That was a backhoe, yeah. I said that you guys make it easy with our capital improvements plan. This has been part of the budgeting process to replace this truck, and we're following all of our policies and guidelines. Are there any concerns from council at this moment? If not, we can move into motion.
Mayor, I move that we approve the purchase of the replacement dump truck with equipment from Wolverine Freightliner, Eastside Inc., in the estimated amount of $310,000, with financing from Comerica Bank for a total estimated amount of $315,185.90. The expense to be split between Major Road Fund Capital Outlay number 202-000-977 and local road fund capital outlay account number 203-000-9777 as submitted by the DPW director.
Support. Moved by Leaks May and supported by Mikulski. Comments, maybe? All right.
Leaks May.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Tiana.
Yes. All right, that passes unanimously. Let's buy a truck.
Cool, thank you.
All right. 7B, moving on to 7B, the second and final regular agenda item. Is approval to sign contract 22-5286 with the Michigan Department of Transportation for the Woodward Moves project. And Joe and Dan are leading this.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'll let Dan really speak with the subject matter expertise, but I can just introduce it. This is an agreement that MDOT requires with any kind of project like this as part of their bid award process. They require it to be ready by the time they prepare to award bids. They are reviewing bid results, and we should have feedback by next week on the actual cost. So the resolution you see here, this is confirming the costs that the city has already pledged towards the project. from the Act 51 sources that we've already discussed previously. So this is really just a reaffirmation of the funding sources that we've discussed already, but we're closer to MDOT's actually awarding of a bid, so they're collecting their final documentation. So this is procedural.
Would we have to do another one of these for a fiscal year, for the next fiscal year, since this is to go, the 1.3 is to go over the 2 years, or is this, because this is for the 1.76 and not the 1.3?
It's my understanding this is part of the entire scope of the award for the project, so I do not believe we'd have to come back and address this next year.
Okay. Because the cost share says 1.176, but we budgeted 1.3, so that's why I was a little confused.
That might not reflect the soft costs, the design and engineering related cost portion. That's not part of this hard cost contract.
Okay. That I get.
Yeah, so we are at the portion of the Woodward Moves project where construction is not too far away. Just to kind of give everyone that's listening a bit of a playback, the city has been working with Michigan Department of Transportation and the city of Pleasant Ridge to incorporate bike lanes and some additional pedestrian improvements along the Woodward corridor, as well as addressing some of the curb and pavement repairs that both the city needs and then MDOT as part of the larger resurfacing project in general. So the city did seek a TAP grant, and they were awarded a grant along with Pleasant Ridge to perform the installation of bike lanes along the corridor from 8 Mile up to the north border that we share with Pleasant Ridge. At this point in time, over the past year, staff has met with MDOT to go over the design and final design of this project, which MDOT recently put out the bid. So part of the process with MDOT, as Joe touched on, was entering into a funding agreement with the local community. So this funding agreement is currently based on engineered cost estimates that MDOT provided to us. So the overall cost estimate for the construction and construction engineering related to this project and the city's portion of the work is $1.176 million. The city budgeted $1.3 million in association with the work that is going to take place. That money was budgeted over multiple fiscal years due to the engineering side of things and design occurring in fiscal year 22. A lot of construction taking place in fiscal year 23, in addition to more construction that's likely going to take place in fiscal year 24, since MDOT did indicate that this project would go the 2023 construction season, which if you're not aware is typically winter and then construction season here in the state of Michigan. And we just go by the wayside with spring and fall. So as part of this agreement with MDOT, not only is it the funding agreement for this project, but it is also the city recognizing that we will assume responsibility for the portion of those improvements that are associated with the bike lanes and the associated safety items with those, the rain gardens that will be put in place, pavement markings, delineators, and so on. Basically what that means is, much like right now, MDOT maintains a standard within their truck lines. For example, MDOT will reimburse a respective agency for up to 26 mows a year. Any mows above that 26 mows per year, MDOT will not be reimbursed for. Just like, they don't reimburse for the flowers and the plant material at 9 and Woodward. So basically, it's saying that the city recognizes that we'll be installing these items. We're going to also assume maintenance-related responsibility for those items going forward following the construction of this work. So MDOT is currently in the process of reviewing the bids that were received on Friday. When this, says MDOT's currently out to bid. Bidding has closed at the time this was written. MDOT was still technically out to bid. So right now we do know that the total cost of the project is roughly 4% over the total engineer's cost estimate. But the thing to keep in mind is that the total cost of the project is not just Ferndale and Pleasant Ridge dollars that are going towards this. MDOT has a large chunk of change that they will be spending for the bulk of the concrete and asphalt resurfacing that's going to go on to Woodward. So roughly it comes out to, using round numbers, the city and Pleasant Ridge portion is roughly a total of $3 million worth of work that's going to go on to Woodward. MDOT's side of things is roughly $5 million that's going to go on to Woodward. So I believe the overall 4% number equates to $375,000 that once the bid tabulation is fully finalized, we'll have an idea if those costs are associated with MDOT's portion of the work, our portion of the work, or Pleasant Ridge's portion of the work. So at this time, the bid is acceptable in terms of MDOT standards. The one time when MDOT will raise a flag is if the total low bid comes in at 110% of the engineer's cost estimate, which it has not at this time. I think it's roughly 4.4%, which really isn't too bad in terms of a $8 million project. With the interesting times in terms of construction these days and pricing and so on, with also contractors kind of taking a guess on how things in 2023 are going to be looking. So at this time, in order for MDOT and the city to continue to move forward with this project, we need to sign off on the funding agreement going forward, so then MDOT can continue on the bid award process and sort things out. Because this being an MDOT project, this is something that the state of Michigan put out the bid and not the city of Ferndale. So we're kind of a participant at this point instead of the one actually steering the ship.
Excellent. Are there any questions from council? I have a couple from the contract, but I wanted to open up to all of you.
Through the chair, this is a slight aside from the contract in front of us, but since you mentioned mowing, it reminded me that I'm asked regularly by residents how much discretion we have as a city for the landscaping in the median. And so I wondered, since you mentioned mowing, could you speak to that? And I know that this plan involves some rain gardens and landscaping improvements. But overall, how much discretion or opportunity do we have in the future for more sustainable landscaping?
I mean, I definitely think there's a lot of conversation there with MDOT. The one big question is the costs associated with maintenance, the time associated with the maintenance, and do we necessarily have the bandwidth to do that? The one nice thing about grass is it is fairly easy to maintain. I will say MDOT's big concerns within their trunk line are with vision. So, we couldn't put bushes up through the turnarounds that are going to block vision. If it was something that was along the lines of, maybe some more flowers, things of that nature, they could be receptive. I do know that, MDOT does recommend, I'm just going to use wildflowers for lack of better terms, but stuff that pollinators like, milkweed, things of that nature for the butterflies. They do have programs within their right-of-way, usually off the shoulder of the road, not necessarily within the median of the road, on certain trunk lines, and they do push for that. It is much more sustainable in terms of not having to mow, good for the pollinators and so on. So there's always room for that conversation. It's are you fine with this? You're just okay, yeah, that's cool. You understand that you're going to take responsibility. Yes, we understand that, and then we move forward. I will say the rain gardens that are included in this project were a big goal of ours. We put together a mock-up. We're going to see how it works out there on the corridor. It'll be there'll be two of them on either side of the road or either side of the median, across the street from Taco Bell, down south of Marshall. So that's where we'll try those out for MDOT and see how that goes.
Yeah, because there's a movement to replace turf grass with, is it clover? Is that the right?
Well,
Cover.
Variety of things.
Yes, there's a variety of things that are less water intensive, and I think we would be interested in exploring those options that would meet MDOT requirements.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm sure we would also love to cut down on the mowing. And, you know, it's something that we had conversations with on our side of things, and not just MDOT's, but, you know, just further conversations that we have to have with our local manager over at TSC that, you know, oversees all the local trunk line maintenance contracts and so on.
May I redirect back to
Yeah.
an item? I noticed in here that you mentioned that the city has to maintain a lot of the physical assets of debt, and it says that the new bicycle lights, traffic lights, but I don't see anything there about pedestrian crosswalk lights or anything else the city would control. So how are we coordinating any bicycle traffic light maintenance with pedestrian or car traffic when we don't control them?
Yeah, so in terms of the actual signals that are out there right now, the traffic signals are MDOT's traffic signals. They maintain them. From time to time, they like to send us a bill for energy on some random stuff. In terms of the city's traffic signals that we have throughout town, our crosswalk, or pedestrian crossing signals and so on, we have a contract with Oakland County Road Commission for the maintenance of our traffic signals. So we're on a monthly schedule that our COC comes down, goes through our signals, does the preventative maintenance side of things. If something goes down, typically we'll give them a call if we can't jump into the control box and get those going. So in terms of the two-way traffic signals, that'll be like a guide for those within the bike lanes. That's something that we would roll into our contract with Oakland County Road Commission. It's tough to say what that kind of annual cost associated with them will necessarily be, just because the one thing with, you know, like pedestals, for example, your push pedestals, those are great things that unfortunately get ran over quite often. So the normal maintenance on those are a bit different than a normal pedestrian signal that's attached to a mast arm or something like that. That's, you know, going to do more damage to the vehicle than anything if it were to get hit. So in the big scheme of things, if you're thinking about all of our traffic signals within the city of Ferndale, all of our pedestrian signals, in a given year, if we don't have to fully replace a lot of them, we're looking at roughly $40,000 a year in terms of maintenance-related activities and energy that we're spending on those.
And then my last question on the maintenance of it, just to make sure, are we also fixing all of the brick sidewalks at the intersections where there's brick coming off? Is MDOT doing that, or is the city doing that in tandem with MDOT?
So there's a portion of both. I can't confidently tell you that every single brick paver across the corridor will get replaced, but as part of this project, MDOT is going to be required to bring every single one of the crosswalks along the corridor into ADA compliance. In addition to that, we are going to be doing a lot of curb work ourselves along our parking bays. As part of that curb work, well, it's not going through the entire corridor because that would be a whole other cost associated with that. The direction that we provided to MDOT was, in terms of the crosswalks, let's go as far back as we possibly can with concrete. We don't want to put brick pavers back into those locations. In terms of the curb repair that we're doing, at the backer curb, because we will be having to take those brick pavers out when they do that work, is to replace that with concrete as well. So there will be some random patches that are, from northbound and southbound on Woodward. But the direction that we have is we're going to remove as much of that as possible with this portion of the project, because the largest amount that we're really trying to go after is in terms of the improving the pedestrian side of things with the crosswalks, the bike lanes, and so on, versus a complete streetscape redesign and reconstruction as part of this project.
I have one more question for Joe about cost, but are there any questions from anybody else about the contract and relationship with MDOT? All right, I'll launch my question. There might, due to inflation, labor costs, and MDOT is responsible for finalizing all that, and you've indicated that it is up. We've always been concerned that due to those factors, not because of mismanagement or, we don't own the bid process here on getting estimates. What options do we have in case they come back to us? What's our plan B to do that? Because I know I am reluctant to go more into our Act 51 to cover those. So what are our options?
Yeah, I can't speak to that. And I've touched base with the city's engineer and our officials and our folks over at SEMCOG to explore all different options to make sure we understood what we were getting into, understanding the nature of inflation right now in the supply chain. So MDOT is inclined to, as I said in the cover letter, move forward anything within 10% of the estimates. This sounds like this is within 5%. But I want to be clear, we haven't seen any analysis on this, so we don't know how that's apportioned. So MDOT, to Dan's point, views the project in two ways: MDOT scope and then the TAP scope. The TAP scope is the city's scope funded by TAP grants. So once they fully analyze it, they'll give us how that 4% spreads across the project. Understanding that, I had a conversation with SEMCOG on Thursday or Friday last week, and they are seeing risks for projects that they support across the region, having to do with supply chain escalations and inflation escalations. So they are prepared to source additional federal funds that are within their control and help backstop an overage that's out of our control to the tune of 80%. So that's the federal requirement because they're federal funds. So the easiest way to view about this is, if it's $100,000, they would pledge $80,000 to the overage, and the city would have to find $20,000 to complete the overage, if that makes sense. So it's federal dollars, so they have to play within the federal formula. So they are willing to support 80% of the backstop, and then the city would have to source the additional 20%. Now, I don't want to go into details until I actually see the numbers, but we will explore all of our options available once we understand if and how the costs are spread to the local project.
It sounds like we have a grant partner willing.
We have a grant partner who's willing to exorbitantly help make sure this project succeeds, and they actually did express positive support in that being a priority to make sure this project succeeded for the region. It's an important project to SEMCOG and the state.
Excellent. So thank you, and thank you, SEMCOG, for providing that level of support. I think a lot of projects would not go forward if they didn't step up in this way this year, as it's an anomaly. Feels like an anomaly year with costs. So, okay, and then unrelated to the grant, I don't know if we want to wait now or for the DDA update, but can we talk a little bit about the Woodward moves Franco? Is this an appropriate time to have that?
Sure. Just in case there was a topic of interest, I asked Lena if she could prepare to kind of just introduce what the DDA is doing to support communicating about the project, since this is kind of the very first initial step we're taking towards MDOT's awarding of a contract. So it seems like now's the right time for Lena to introduce what the DDA is doing for business communications.
I can figure out which one.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Lena Stevens, the DDA Director. While I pull up my PowerPoint presentation here, you are getting 2 copies of some material that's going to be delivered to businesses, so I'll walk you through that in a minute here. Okay. So yeah, I was invited to speak tonight just to give a little bit of an update about what we're doing related to communication specifically with our business community. We are working with a team called Franco. I'm going to introduce the 2 folks who we've been working with most primarily there. So Woodward Moves is the project name for this. Some people call it the Woodward Road Diet. Some people call it the repaving project. So, going forward, we are going to try to use Woodward Moves as that umbrella term. I think we're all familiar with it, but just for the folks listening in at home. So, what you see here is our project partners. So we've got the folks that we all just talked about, City of Ferndale, Pleasant Ridge, MDOT, DDA, SEMCOG, all these folks working together for a construction project that is going to happen in 2 phases. So we are looking at making sure our businesses know that construction is going to start this fall without necessarily having an exact date to tell them yet. But that doesn't mean we don't want them to know about it. So we're going with fall 2022. Believe it or not, that actually took a lot of brainstorming before we finally got there. We tried out a lot of things before somebody finally said, how about we just say fall? But then you can see in a little bit more detail there, we say phase 1 will begin as early as mid to late September, but the majority of the work is going to take place in phase 2, which will be spring through fall of 2023. So we're trying to use as much plain language as we can in an environment where we don't necessarily have all the details, but we try to be as transparent as possible. So this is our Franco team. So you might hear us talking about this, and we may have said the term Franco to you, and maybe you didn't know what that was. This is a communications firm that they're founded in Detroit. We've been working with them. The DDA is absorbing the cost for this contract, and we are taking on that responsibility for communication along the entire corridor. And I'd love to, just say that was just out of altruism, but this actually has a lot of benefits for the DDA. When we're out there, when people are getting to know us, when we are communicating with them, when they're listening to us, we can build those communication networks and become a stronger source of information for the downtown businesses and beyond. So Emily and Katie are our primary folks who've been working with us there, but they actually have a whole slew of folks. They've got designers, they've got lots of folks that have been working with us. So the first thing that we worked on was, this is not supposed to be interesting. This is a very boring document, but it is the Woodward Moves Master Messaging document. It's about 15 pages long, and the idea is we developed it with city staff and DDA staff all together, a lot of input from the DDA board and things like that. But it was essentially, we needed to have that master document that we come back to, so almost like a press release when you're doing an event or something. So you all have this agreed upon language that we can come back to about why we're doing this project. And I have to tell you, when I first opened the document, as you work with any contractor, you never know, we opened it up and Kara and I were just blown away. They did an excellent job at articulating some of the things that we had been struggling with about why are we doing this and trying to make it a little bit more simple. And then, in fact, Mayor Piana actually looked through it and she took kind of another whack at doing some plain language, taking out words like vehicles and just saying cars, because that's what people understand, and that's reasonable and fair. So we don't expect this to be sort of a document that's locked in perpetuity, but we'll sort of lock it in phases. So we're working to kind of put this together, lock it for this first phase. We'll reopen it again, as we get a couple months under our belt, see what kind of messaging is working, see what's not working as well, and do some edits and make sure it's staying, up to date. The other thing that we've been working on in the background is we've been working with a system called Klaviyo. Clavio. Oh, now I'm going to say it wrong. Oh, I'm going to get teased when I get home. So this is actually a new system that we're going to use for the DDA as a whole. We're going to test it out because it allows you to do newsletters and SMS messaging. We haven't had this capability in the past, and when we've tried it, we've had a lot of issues with text messaging going to spam folders, which I didn't know existed on phones, but they do. And we really wanted to get into this world, so we think that this is actually a system. So we're in MailChimp right now, and I think we're going to move over to this. So really pulling all our contacts together from everywhere we can pull them from to try to make sure that we start with as robust of a list as possible before we start going out to the public and gathering even more information was something we did in the background. So right now we have our Business Outreach Day on August 16th. And what this is designed to be is DDA and city staff visiting as many of the businesses in person as possible. We're going to be in this room at 9 a.m. for a training, and then we are going to give out assignments. So everybody who I've got signed up to volunteer or who has been voluntold to do it will come here. They will leave with a list of business addresses. What they will do is what you've got in front of you there is the one that has like a circle on it, that's a door hanger, and then there's a postcard. So if we don't catch somebody, they'll get a door hanger, and if we do, they'll get a postcard. This is not designed to be a long interaction. You know, it's going to be if you have questions, you're going to call DDA, you're going to email info@downtownferndale.com, but we just really wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to start up without you knowing about it. So that's what that's going to be designed to be, and I'm still taking volunteers. So if anybody has time in the morning on August 16th, I've already got a few people in this room roped in, so we're really excited about it. So that's my last slide. I think it's moving well. We had some setbacks. I was honestly kind of out for between 4 and 6 weeks when I had COVID. It put us a little bit behind on schedule. I think we've been picking up ground. And I think we're going to do really well. And the Franco team's been super responsive to us. And I think making sure we have that consistent messaging is just going to help us so much when we get into spring and we get into the real phase 2 of this. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you for the update.
Yeah,
Looks
you're
great.
welcome.
If I may, through the chair.
Yeah, and Lena, can you just send the key messages off to council?
Sure, it's the messaging document. Okay, it's not in final it's still got some comments on the side, but I'd be happy to share that document.
They need it.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
I just have a comment, really. Of course, this is my first time seeing this, but I can really appreciate the effort to reach all of these businesses, to keep them informed as to when this is going on. So, I appreciate everything you do, Lena, and your team, and I think this is going to be very helpful to help businesses prepare. So, thank you for that.
I actually kind of had my own experience with it, with the orange barrels showing up, and I have a daycare that's on Woodward, just north of 696, and nobody knew, and the daycare didn't know, and it was just for some stormwater repair. But I thought, we're gonna do a little bit better than that. We're gonna make sure that they at least know that it's coming. So I had a good little primer there.
A lot of the businesses know that the project's coming, but we haven't had any firm construction.
Exactly.
Like that. So this is the next step.
Yep.
All right. Thanks for
Yeah, you're welcome.
the interlude here of the messaging back to the contract. We need a motion to we need to make a motion. A motion has not been made.
Through the chair, I move to approve contract 22-5286 with Michigan Department of Transportation for the Woodward Move project for an estimated amount of $176,500 and the expense to be charged to Major Roads Capital Outlay account number 202-977 and approve DPW director documents as submitted by the DPW director.
Moved by Mayor Pro Tem James and supported by Councilwoman Mikulski. All right. Is there comment, debate, and or questions from legal counsel? I saw you raise your hand.
No, I just wanted to make sure a motion.
Oh, okay, okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ready?
I think so.
James.
Yes.
Mikulski.
Yes.
Leaksmay.
Yes.
Deanna.
Yes. All right. That is approved unanimously. And we are at the end of our regular agenda and moving on to call the council. So handing it over to our city manager to lead the updates with each department who has an update to give.
Thank you, Mayor. Let me scroll over to my list. Actually begin with the fire department. And as Chief Robinson walks up there, I would just want to extend my gratitude for the police, fire, DDA, parking staff, DPW, pretty much everybody that assisted with last week's storm issues when it arose. They all worked together quickly.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I'll kind of parrot that a little bit. And I think it shows how lucky we are here in Ferndale that all of our departments work together so well and have so much cohesiveness. That does not exist in every community, unfortunately, and we have it here. And I think we shined on Wednesday because everybody came together and just worked together so seamlessly and supported each other so seamlessly. So we had a lot that hit really fast, but we handled everything really fast. So I appreciate all that and here in this community. The only quick update I want to give, and the community did a phenomenal job. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. When they saw a hazard, they had a concern, they called it in, let us check it out early. So it allowed us to tackle a lot of things quick and keep anybody from being injured or any negative outcomes. So the community did exactly what they're supposed to do, and I appreciate them for that. And keep being safe and moving forward, keeping everybody safe when we have these events occur. So with that, I'll segue into, we are making a lot of great progress with our staffing. When I took over, we had 1/3 of our department vacant, which is significant staffing issue. We have successfully extended and had offers accepted to fill every single vacancy we have in our department, which is, you have to understand how big of a deal that is with the shortage and every department fighting for firefighters, and for us to successfully have high quality candidates. We did not compromise our standards at all. We did pass on people that had credentials because they did not meet the caliber of people we want here and serving our community, and we were still able to fill every vacancy we have. That was done with phenomenal help from HR, and PD took over during our backgrounds to allow us to process people quicker. So with that, I am looking forward to in September presenting all of our new firefighters to council in the city.
Well, that's an amazing update from what we heard a month ago.
So we have,
congratulations to all of you.
yeah, we have in progress. So I've hired 8 firefighters this year, which is a lot. Some have already started, 3 have already started, 4 have already started, and 4 more are in process, and hopefully we'll be starting within, have everybody on board within the next 30 days.
Okay. I did have a follow-up question about the fire at Withington Lot.
Mm-hmm.
I know you guys were on it right away, but how long did it take for that to get fixed? Because I know a lot of our businesses were without power because of that.
Yeah, so that was a challenging one for us. For a fire department, we come, there's fire, we want to put it out, and we couldn't on that one, because what was actually on fire was the electrical feed, the electrical drop coming down the pole to the underground transformer. So it wasn't, the pole was on fire as a secondary fire, but it was primarily the electrical wires. So that's a lot of voltage going through this. We can't just spray water on that, because that would be a really bad day for us. And there was some misunderstanding that, and somebody from DT made a comment to one of the businesses that every fire department is equipped with the chemicals to extinguish electrical fires. That is true to an extent. If, say, an air conditioner unit outside of a house, which is electrically charged, is on fire, we could use dry chemical extinguishers and things like that to access that fire. The location of this fire and everything, and the weather conditions, there was nothing we could do. Our priority was life safety, so protecting the area. DT at first did not have it escalated, and we were trying to communicate to them to help them understand what was truly going on at that site. This wasn't just a down power line. When their scout vehicle finally got there, he stated, oh, He's like, I need to escalate this. I said, well, I was sending you messages. He said, well, I understood your messages, but I didn't expect to see that. And my comment was, well, you didn't understand the messages. But once he got there, he realized, hey, this needs to be escalated. They need to get a cooler out there. They need to address this. So it was extended incident in the sense it took a little while for them to get there because I knew they were busy, and that's just why I was trying to be considerate of. I knew their hands were full, but also have them understand the unique situation we had on our hands. They handled the emergent hazard that night to make it safe, and then they came back on, I think, on Friday, and the city really helped with that. I communicated to Joe on my way out of town on Thursday, and there was a lot of networking that happened to try to work with DTE and our representatives, and they were back out there on Friday, had them fully restored on Friday afternoon. So, and that was the me working with the business of the day and communicating back to the city manager to make sure he knew the impact it was going to have, primarily on Inyo and Rust Belt with what they had going on over the weekend, and we were trying to do what we could to advocate for them, and the city did a phenomenal job on that for the businesses.
Yeah, I really want to take a moment to actually credit DTE when Chief had forwarded the information to me and the potential impact of the businesses. The initial restoration estimate was 5 days. And so I did reach out to my counter within DTE's governmental division and really press them to explore anything that they could do. We had some special wedding ceremonies scheduled for the weekend. And so they were really incredibly responsive, and they were really positive, and they were able to turn that, replace the pole and restore everything within, I think, 24 hours of the incident. So tremendous credit to DTE for the effort there. They deserve it.
Absolutely, I agree.
Thanks for the more details on that. I don't like to bother you when you're working on those things, but it's helpful to understand what went down in order to get it fixed. So.
And people don't always understand why we're just sitting there not doing anything. They don't understand why we couldn't do anything. But that's where Chief Emmy, one of his officers came over, was phenomenal and helped me secure the parking lot. We had a lot of traffic coming through. DPW got barriers placed, parking, hopped in, and helped us try to keep people out because people kept trying to walk in there and take selfies with the emergency that was going on. It happened. So we used a lot of barrier tape and kept doing everything we could because our job as the fire department is to look at where the emergency is now and where it can go to stay 1 or 2 steps ahead of it. So we have to anticipate what it may do and protect those areas to stop any further damage or lives or anybody being harmed. So that's what we were trying to do. And I think we successfully did because we had no injuries.
Thank you.
If I may, through the chair, Chief, can you tell us when is the last time that the fire department has been fully staffed?
2016.
2016.
Yeah, these men and women have been working so hard for this community for a while, and there's a lot that contributed to that. There's shortage of firefighters, shortage of paramedics. There were some changes that occurred right before I came in where HR and the fire department worked together to agree to start hiring EMTs, which opened up the pool of candidates we could hire. So I can't speak too much on what was or wasn't done as far as recruiting and stuff prior to me coming here, but I do know that they have not been fully staffed since 2016.
Our fire department has gone through some significant cultural change for good.
Yeah, and I'm really excited. You know, like I said, when I hire, I look at the quality of the individual, and we want good people with the skill sets we need. But I'm really impressed at the diversity our fire department has and is going to have when everybody on board. And I think it's something for us to be really proud of because it just goes to show the people that want to come work and serve this community.
Thank you, Chief.
Next, we have our Community and Economic Development Director, Roger Crusoe.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Just a quick update. As a reminder, we'll be presenting the land use plan changes to you at a workshop on the 15th, so in about 2 weeks, a week or so. And on the 16th, the public comment period closes. And on the 17th, we'll be taking that before the Planning Commission to solicit feedback, and then coming back to Council in the subsequent meetings. We've been attending various events, getting more citizen feedback at Schiffer Park, and I think we're going to have a station at the Rust Belt coming up for a couple days to solicit additional feedback. So just letting you know that's on its way. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger.
Thank you, Roger. Chief Emmy.
Good evening again, Mayor and Council. Just one quick announcement. Unfortunately, last week we had to cancel our street corner roundtable due to severe weather. We were able to quickly reschedule it for this Wednesday, August 10th at 6 p.m. and 7 p.m. The first location is East Hazelhurst and Paxton, and at 7 p.m. we'll be at, on East Woodland between Woodward and Bermuda. And if you're available, I hope you can make it out. That always makes it better when the elected show up. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. And that actually concludes the remarks from staff this evening. I turn it over to you, Mayor.
All right, I'll start with Councilman Mikulski tonight for,
Nothing additional tonight.
okay? Oh, did you have events?
I lost one on the list. I
I don't know,
apologize.
you don't have anything coming up, do you?
Your hair looks grayer.
Well, there's this little bitty, itty bitty event that's coming up soon, known as the Woodward Dream Cruise. The 2022 Ferndale Dream Cruise is a 2-day automotive event presented by Ford Motor Company that will take place here in downtown Ferndale on August 19th and 20th. The Ferndale Dream Cruise will feature the Emergency Vehicle Show, Lights and Sirens Cruise, official Woodward Dream Cruise ribbon cutting ceremony, and the Mustang Alley Show. By the way, just to let you know, the Mustang Alley Show is the largest car show during the Woodward Dream Cruise, with over 650 Mustangs along 9 Mile Road, from Planavon to Hilton Road. Along with this, we'll have a kids' play zone featuring the Kids Car Club, and of course our rock and roll sounds at the Rock and Live Entertainment Stage. And our special presentation for this year is to stroll through the Storyland of Floats, featuring handmade floats from the Detroit Thanksgiving Day Parade, presented by the Parade Company, which will take place on Friday, August 19th. For more information and for the schedule, you can go on www.FerndaleDreamCruise.com. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. All right, back to council. We'll just go down this way. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, quick item for me, which is reminding folks that we do have a draft of our citizens group ordinance that we're still soliciting feedback from members of the public. I think that the online survey may shut down after tonight. However, clearly we're not voting on it tonight, so you have until it comes to council to continue to submit feedback to your council members. If you'd like to submit feedback directly to me, you're welcome to email me at ferndalemI.gov. And when it does make its way to the agenda, I hope folks will come.
For that reminder. All right.
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Believe it or not, I have nothing either. But this is what happens midsummer. Oh, what's that? Oh, yes, City Manager, you can have one more update.
I completely am remiss for acknowledging the incredible work of Anthony Esmaker
Oh my God.
and his
Yes.
team in
Yeah, we
facilitating
totally forgot we had an election.
an election on the run.
It's because we had no issues. Seriously, it was issue-free. We didn't see any issues. You
Well,
felt differently, but.
it was a very smooth day, and I just keep trying to draft thank you emails to all the departments, but everybody was involved, from our police chief and fire chief to HR to everybody, so including council members serving in the precincts. So it was a great event.
Councilman Polika, and you served as a election inspector. We've already received a report from Anthony, city clerk, giving a recap. It's fantastic. full of great data and suggestions from staff as well as our volunteers who always give feedback on what could be improved for the next election. I'm sad that we had a lower turnout for this primary versus 2020, right? What were the numbers?
36% turnout.
36% turnout, which was lower than before. But I have a feeling we'll have a higher turnout again in November. It's a pretty hot election for people to participate in. So I'm going to put a pitch out there. Do you still need election inspector
always happy to
workers,
have
volunteers?
Always happy to have the help.
Okay, and if you are interested in learning how elections work and want to be a volunteer, you can go to the elections section of our website. I believe there's a sign-up form for being a volunteer, and you can join our team. Every city needs help.
Happy to have it.
Yes, and I'm really pleased that I literally didn't get any calls or texts during an election, like my first one. So
I'm glad to hear that.
it's pretty amazing. So thank you. All right, well, I have no comments other than I'm full of gratitude with everybody tonight. So with that, I'm calling it 8:51.